Hey, yo, what up? Welcome back. This is not a podcast. This is just my thoughts with Rob Markman. Shout out to everybody who's been watching, subscribing, commenting, liking, supporting the channel in any way. We also have our monthly membership and our community tier membership. You can join. You can hit the join button below if you're on desktop. If you're on mobile, I don't know if you see that button, but I appreciate you, man. Either any way that y'all come to the channel, any way that y'all come to the door, I appreciate it. Got love for y'all. So today I want to talk about Tory Lanez, who dropped his new album Peterson on Friday. It's the sequel to his Daystar album. That's his birth name. That's his government name, Daystar Peterson. He recorded the album while he's locked up. As everybody knows, he is serving a 10-year sentence after he was found guilty on felony charges following the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion in 2020. He maintains his innocence, and he's pursuing an appeal. And Megan maintains that he is guilty, and she was actually granted a restraining order against Tory that extends into 2023. I'm sorry, 2030. And that came down earlier this year. My full disclosure is this as it comes to the case. I have not read the case. Like, y'all seen me read the Jay-Z paperwork. Y'all seen me read the Drake UMG lawsuit. The case started before I was active on this channel in the way that I am now. And I wasn't writing or speaking about it in public. So I didn't dive in the way I recently have. So I know there's a lot of people who are following the case and the minutia details of this case. But, I'm not here to discuss that because I haven't read that paperwork. I've been following the news reports like most people, the headlines, but still, the trusted news sources. You know what I'm saying? The CNNs, the NBC Newses, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily blogs, but I've been following the news reports like most people. For all intents and purposes, I'm not here to argue whether he did it or not. I want to talk about the music, and I know it's hard. It's hard for me to separate the two. It's hard for people to separate the two. But for all intents and purposes, I'm not here to argue whether he did it or not. For all intents and purposes, he is guilty. He was found guilty by the court, right? Yes, he maintains his innocence. A great deal of people locked up say, hey, I was innocent. I didn't do it. And a lot of people believe his innocence. I'm not even here to talk about that. He's going to have to prove that in court. It seems like he has an appeal coming up. So he'll have to prove that coming up. I don't want to believe that he's done it. I've interviewed Tory a number of times. Me and Tory have had like personal contact, personally had each other's numbers through the years and talked mostly again about interviews, the content that we was creating. So there's definitely a relationship there, a respect there that I have. And when the news broke down, I was like, damn, I hope this ain't true. Like, I don't want it to be true. Like this whole thing is crazy on a number of levels. And then you could still feel for somebody who has been victimized at the same time. But whatever that appeal is, he'll have to. Right now, he's in jail because the court found him guilty, and his appeal, he's gonna have to fight that in court. So knowing all that, right, and this gets me to this video. When I pressed play on the album, I asked myself, like, how do I listen to this? How do I receive this, knowing that it's someone who is convicted of shooting a woman, and we don't condone that type of behavior. Is there, and it's this age-old question that we ask of anybody who is in trouble about anything, like, can you separate the art from the reality? Should we separate the art from the reality? And then can you? And that's a personal question for everybody to contend with, because I don't want to get into this video making that, but you could talk about a lot of people we love who have been accused of, convicted of, or absolutely have done horrible things, and we still love their music. It's a tough thing to police, so it's a personal choice. So I went in to listen to it. I was like, man, let me check this album out, and how do I listen to it? How do I receive it, knowing all this information? And what made it more difficult is before I press play, all of the headlines surrounding the album, right, were the lyrics about Megan Thee Stallion, the lyrics about Rock Nation, the allusions to Jay-Z and his case, and lyrics about Iggy Azalea. He had said something about Doechii. So it was all these lyrics, which captured the headlines as they normally do. And Tory knows when he goes and spits these things. These are the things that people are gonna put in the headline. He said this about Rock Nation. He said this about Megan. He said this about Iggy. The things that fuel the internet. We know how the internet works. How do you separate that and just listen to the music? Can you, it's a true question. And I ask y'all that question. That is a question that I ask y'all so y'all can go and answer in the comments. Can you? I just press play. And what hit me about this album, at the core of the album, or the brilliance of this album, is that, when you strip it away, if you could strip away all of the headlines and it's like, oh shit, this is the story of someone locked up that they recorded while locked up over a jail phone. I'm not quite sure how Tory and his engineer did it. You can hear some of the pops through the phone. I heard some of the P sounds. You know what I'm saying? If you in the studio, you know about the P's, the pops. I heard some of the imperfections in the recording, but by and large, it does not sound like this was recorded on the phone. It sounds professional. It sounds like he was in the studio. This isn't Shine rapping over the phone on a verse for Usher's Confessions back in 2004, for those that remember that. These are like fully produced songs that sound studio quality. This is not, and then it's also not T.I. coming out of jail and doing paper trail and giving you his experience after he's had time to reflect on it. There is somebody, giving you their experience, their thoughts while they're locked up still. There's some expected topics, right? Like just standard fare, and not to say that they're any less real, but there's the phone sex song. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of GTL talk on there for those who have been locked up but have had friends or family locked up. You know about the GTL phone, so there's a lot of GTL talk on the album. There's a song about fucking female COs. There's the song about your girl fucking your boy while you're locked up. These are stories of kind of things that we heard before in terms of the narrative of being locked up and some of the things that go on, right? A couple of these songs have a choir feel to it. Definitely like a church, like a gospel feel to it. So that there's this godly element. A lot of people find God in prison. I'm not saying Tory specifically, his father comes from the church, but there's that element to it. Like when I'm getting at it, is there things on this album other than Megan Thee Stallion, Rock Nation or whatever, that it gets to the heart of what it means to be incarcerated, right? There's just the dangers of being locked up, right? The tension, the violence, the guards, the opening song, not the intro, but the opening song, Free Me, is a plea to God to free him, right? And he talks about the horrors inside, the struggles. He says, it's wartime, I got it tucked all in the mattress, alert at 6 a.m. inside the morning because shit could crack then. Magician make you disappear, and that's a hat trick. Seeing that run out to the yard and he got backflip, crying in the cell so many nights that I felt trapped in, had to pray to God and ask the Lord if he could free me. I got a son and I got some family that needs me. So, the violence that you see, being away from your family, being the breadwinner of your family, being a father and not being able to connect with your son. Obviously what he's been convicted of is something terrible, right? And we're not excusing that, but then the human element of being locked up and the horrors that you face. In the background on one of these songs too, you could actually hear commotion, like Tory's recording over the phone. There's a video of it online of Tory recording over the phone a verse, and then something jumps off behind him. I'll find the video. I'll put it right here, and y'all can just see it. So there's that. So he included that like in one of the songs. And then, it's not just the inmates, right? Last verse on this Free Me song. And I'm on locked up, cops want to knock us. They be up there watching from the towers with binoculars. Some of them will watch you get stabbed and won't stop it. They know who gonna run away and they know who gonna chop you. You know what I'm saying? Like just the dangers, right? Another song called Sneeze Wrong. He says your son is 7 and he asking when you coming home, but you don't want to tell your boy the date because it's gonna rub him wrong. You had to get it scraped because it was coming to him. Got on that phone that very day and said it's nothing wrong. I remember I could relate to that. Like got on the phone that very day and said there's nothing wrong. My brother was locked up for many years when I was young, and he has sons, twins, And, I remember them being little and asking for their father, or their father would call and they would speak. But we used to say he was away. He was in the army. It's one of the lies that we tell the children. You know what I'm saying? When our people get locked up, yo, he's on vacation. Yo, he's in the army. So and my brother actually had a background in the army at the time, so he's just like, nah, he's in the army. Not to tell them that he was locked up. But your son is 7 and he asked him when you coming home, but you don't want to tell your boy the date because it's gonna rub him wrong. I mean, maybe Tory's son is well aware of where he is. I mean, there's the internet, there's this. It's a different time, but still that concept of lying to your children or hiding the truth from your children or not telling your children the whole truth as to spare them for their feelings. Like, when I talk about like the emotional things that go on in this album, when you strip away the headlines, like that reminded me of something that kind of hit me. Get on the phone that very day and said it's nothing wrong. Speaking to your people from inside, and especially family members, and they put on a brave face. A lot of times, they might not share with you the stress that they're going to do or the thing that they just experienced because they don't want to worry you. They don't want to burden you with. I had both my brothers incarcerated at some point, and a lot of the stories I didn't hear until they got home. You know what I'm saying? And people in the army, people at war experience a similar thing. I have a best friend who retired from the army, and a lot of the story I would speak to him and I'm cool and I'm chilling, but they in the middle of a war. His barracks, just got bombed, or something happened real close to where it is, to where he stays or something like that, and they don't want to tell you the stress. So I thought Sneeze Wrong was interesting in that regard, right? You got the other song, White Lightning. Like, there's certain things that's only going to make sense to you, again, if you've been locked up. And I never have, or if you have people who've been locked up and tell you the stories. But White Lightning is a prison wine that you make with fruit and water, sugar. They add bread in it for the yeast. And then, like, you let it ferment for a couple of days, and then it there's like this prison wine, and then but what you do is you boil that like in a bucket or something, and then you put it in a bag, and you let the condensation bubble up in the bag and then drip down outside of the bucket, and it's like this pure alcohol that comes out of it. So White Lightning, they call that White Lightning. The pure alcohol part of it that you let condensate and accumulate is called White Lightning, because it's a clear liquid. So he has a song called White Lightning. So if for people who've been inside, like, they know what that is. And the lyric, tell me, do you understand when I'm on the lightning? Burn it good, it's like tequila in the pen. She did me wrong, can you believe she done fucked on my mans? So about getting drunk, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, even when you're inside, you got your vices, right? So again, White Lightning is just a song that most people might not get, but it'll hit people who've been inside, or who have been close to people who've been inside. It's the drunk song. It's the drunk prison song. And then he has other lines, right, where you could tell it's designed only for people who've been inside. He says, "Oh, I'm upstate, I'm in the mountains. She's still gonna dance. She about man. She got a smile like Miss G up in North Kern. You ain't GP, you wouldn't know her. Miss G is maybe a CO or something. I don't know. I ain't locked up there in North Kern, so I don't know. But if you ain't GP, if you ain't general population, you wouldn't know her." But he says something that'll probably get the guys that he's locked up with excited. Oh shit, he gave an experience that's only for us on this record. So there's a lot of that. His father does spoken word on the album, and talks about the prison industrial complex, and he mentions his father turning into a meme. We kind of internet all laughed at his father. The Rock Nation will crumble, but his father says on the album, hey, he talks about pleading to God, like, why my son? But then he says, oh, I came to the effect that it's not about you, it's also about others, the other incarcerated sisters and brothers, and that's when I gave you to God, knowing that he would keep you covered. At the end of the day, no matter what you believe, in whether Tory did or didn't, or whether he was rightfully convicted or wrongly convicted, that's still a father that has to contend. His father believes him. in his heart. So that's a father that still has to contend that his son is locked up. That's still a son. That's still a little 7-year-old boy that has to contend with the fact that his father is away. And again, I'm not telling you what to believe or whose side to be on, but the human emotions into this, how jail affects. It's not just the person incarcerated. It's people around him, and so there's hints of that in this album, and I think that's where the brilliance is. He got a song about Iggy Azalea. I guess they were a thing. A whole song called Amethyst. Which is Iggy's name, her government name. We know that she wrote a letter to the judge on behalf of him when it was time for sentencing. So, maybe him and Iggy were a thing. Max B is on the album on the interlude, talking about, when I get home, man, I got a bag for you. We gonna whatever. So I guess him and Max B, made a relationship. 7 songs in, there's really nothing about Megan Thee Stallion in it, right? Like, it's just kind of the emotions of the day-to-day of being in prison. On Lunch Tray, he talks about being on the phone with Suge Knight, and Suge, he telling me he think I could be bigger than Pac. You know what I'm saying? Sailor Moon is the song about, his girl fucks his friend while he's locked up. Verdict Day samples the same record as Jay-Z and Siegel's Where Have You Been? It's one long verse. A lot of that is aimed at his lawyers. So now it's like, the lawyers did me wrong. He talks about Sean Harley, the lawyer. Sean Harley, that's a name I will call special. Only a special person could rep you and want to dead you. Go to your DNA expert and say don't test you. You fully excluded, but inconclusive is what she tells you. Again, I don't know the truth here. I haven't followed the case and the DNA on the gun and why they didn't test them or why they didn't present that evidence. Is his DNA on the gun? Is it not on the gun? Is it there's a whole ball of confusion there, right? And I don't know the truth here, but what I'm saying is an interesting record. Like going at his lawyers, he makes it sound like his lawyers had ulterior motives. He had the wrong lawyers. So at the most, they had ulterior motives to bury him. And why would they do that? You got to ask yourself a question. That, at the least, it seems like maybe bad strategy. You know what I'm saying? Either way, he feels away. But he talks about her being a black woman. She's a black woman. So I said, hey, I trust it. But at what point is it you did me dusty? Working for my accuser and working for me, all the information I give her is at ROC. Y'all have my lawyer in y'all pocket. She's circling T's. That's why Megan always taught like jail was certain for me. It's because y'all paid for them 10 years. Let's keep it honest. First mention of Megan. It could be Megan Thee Stallion or I mean, also in this is Megan. He's had some Megan. I'm gonna mess up her name. Kniff. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I fucked up her name because I know people stay fucking up her name, but she has a law background. She covers the case online as media. She is actually like a dope source. Like I follow her and that's where I can find a lot of paperwork for a lot of stuff is through her and through her website. So shout out to Megan. I'm not sure what Megan he's talking about here, but one of the two. Then he talks about like firing his lawyer. He says, as soon as I realized you saw it coming, you started to look back on your tracks and you got them covered. You knew that I found out what you did right before the trial. You quit before I fired you and you did it with a smile. And he's talking about the lawyer, Sean Harley. Now, when I first listened to the album on Friday, there's a voicemail that plays from his lawyer. When the album came out, the voicemail is included in the song. Over the weekend, when I listened to the album again, it was taken off. So I don't know what the deal is there. But it's a voicemail from his lawyer saying, hey, maybe it's best if I leave the case. She talks about them not being on the same page. And she says, she says, I care about you. I want you to win, but I think it's the right decision for both of us. I'm rooting for you. Like, happy Thanksgiving. And his lawyer leaves the case. Again, Tory is asserting that she has some type of ulterior motive. I don't know. I don't know if you listen to it now, if the voicemail is there, but I heard it on Friday, the voicemail was there. Heard it over the weekend, the voicemail wasn't there. Slipping and Falling is a good record, another choir record. Oh, going back to that Verdict and Lawyer Fees is another record, but there's a voicemail on this album too from another one of his lawyers, basically saying that his fees are non-negotiable and it's going to cost $900K to represent him and take it or leave it. It's like a harsh call, like when you listen to it. And again, if you take the headlines out of it, who do you believe? Whose side are you on? Who are you a bigger fan of? Defend black women. All of that shit is valid. I'm not saying it's valid, but it does give you a mindset of what somebody on trial, what prisoners go through. Like the lawyer is just like, yo, my fee is $900K. I'm not gonna bend on that. Either you could pay me or you could stay where you at. Like we also have to understand, and Tory got paper. I'm not, think about all the people who don't have paper to have a lawyer that could represent them. You know what I'm saying? Like a good lawyer to represent them. It just shows you how much of a business this is. So again, those were the interesting parts of the album to me, like the eye-opening parts, of it. LA County Jail is another song. He talks about all the rappers and the people that kind of did him wrong or wrote him off. He shouts out Chris Brown for helping him out. Apparently Chris Brown paid his I think he needed $250,000, and because he was Canadian, he was locked out of his whatever accounts he had, and Chris Brown helped him out and paid for the appeal. My Shayla kind of sounds like a Drake song. There's some Megan subs on For Argentina. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can look them up. Y'all probably seen the headlines. My Shayla kind of sounds like a Drake song. There are parts of these that like sounds like Drake to me or whatever, like in the style of Drake. Again, the rap specifically, those long one verse raps. My Shayla kind of sounded like Drake to me. But in that song, he references the restraining order he got hit with from Megan while he was in jail. He talks about Megan's lawsuit, or Roc Nation's lawsuit, against Milagro Grams for her content, which I guess was pro-Tory. So there's a lawsuit going on there. There's another weird song, it's Spice Rilla, where he uses a Trump AI voice that basically says free Tory. I thought that was a weird choice. Like at first I was like, did Trump say this? And I was like, there's no way Trump say this. Because at the end he's like, yeah, they got to free my boy. I knew it was AI, but I was like, let me just Google to see if Trump, I couldn't find nowhere where Trump said any of this. So the Trump AI voice, the whole free Tory thing was weird to me, because I'm looking for what's rooted in truth here. A lot of this seemed to have been rooted in Tory's version of his truth. And the Trump AI thing definitely threw me off. TB's interlude samples Bria's interlude from Drake So Far Gone. And then Free Tory, the last song, kind of ends like Kanye Last Call from College Dropout, where he's just giving you his story at the end and just talking as the beat plays. I don't know that I'll come back to this album very much. Like, will this stand the test of time? Remains to be seen. I can't say, but the way he put it together, the emotion and the detail he put into it in real time was interesting. There's headlines that are going to dominate the conversation, like I said, but you strip that away, and there's something here story-wise, soul-wise. I'm not saying it's a perfect album, but there's something at the core here that I was like, damn, it kind of reminded me of seeing what my brother went through when he was locked up, and my other brother went through when he was fighting his case. Hearing things not foreign to me, but it was like, I never quite heard it put like that on a rap song. I never heard it quite put like that in music. So that was what was interesting to me. It'll be interesting to see if this stands the test of time, or if this is for a moment. I know Tory has a fan base that is diehard, that is going to elevate this. It'll be interesting to see how far it'll go, but I can't wait for him to reveal. I'm interested in seeing him reveal how he actually made the album from a technical standpoint, how him and his engineer made this sound like a sound. Listen to it if you want. I'm not trying to convince you to listen to this album. I'm not trying to one way or another, but this is just my experience with it. All right, until next time, peace.